All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the world of pharmaceutical manufacturing systems, but we're focusing on something that's really kind of the bedrock, the foundation, the
The
URS.
user requirement specification.
Exactly, the user requirement specification, or URS. Now, I know if you spent any time at all looking at the documentation for these systems, you know it can be a little overwhelming, right? A lot of different documents, a lot of different acronyms. So our goal today is to break down the URS, really try to help you understand what it is and why it's so important.
Yeah. Think of this as your cheat sheet to
Yeah,
understanding the core of what makes a pharmaceutical system compliant and effective.
absolutely.
What we're going to do is take a look at what exactly a URS is, how it's put together, and how it ensures drug quality and meets all those regulations.
Absolutely. And we're going to be pulling all of our insights from the ISPE Baseline Guide on Commissioning and Qualification.
A great document.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics. What is a URS? Like, can you explain that in simple terms?
Sure. Think of it as a blueprint for a system, like the master plan. And this is where everything comes together. So all of the requirements from different areas, whether it's the product, the manufacturing process, the regulations, the quality standards, everything kind of converges in the URS.
Hmm.
And it's this document that then guides the entire life cycle of the system from design to what we call commissioning and qualification, C&Q, all the way to operation and maintenance.
So really, it's the single source of truth for what that system needs to do, right?
Yeah, exactly, precisely. And it's the foundation for the C&Q process, that commissioning and qualification process.
Okay.
And what's really important here is that the URS, it outlines those specific requirements that are related to product quality.
Right.
And these are driven by, our knowledge of the drug's critical quality attributes, its CQAs, and the critical process parameters, or CPPs, involved in manufacturing it, as well as, of course, all the regulations and quality standards. And remember, think of those CQAs as those essential characteristics of the drug that ensure it's safe and effective, it does what it's supposed to do for the patient.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
So it's critical stuff.
Yeah. So these requirements that are laid out in the URS, they're used to then inform how we manage the risk to the quality of that product during C&Q, right?
Exactly, yeah. The URS provides that scientific basis, that grounding for applying quality risk management, or QRM, to the process. And this is what makes sure that we focus our risk management efforts. We target them on the things that matter most for the product, for the patient.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So when is a URS actually necessary? Like, do we need one for every single piece of equipment, every little thing in the lab?
Well, it's recommended for any system that could have an effect, any potential effect on product quality. These are what we call direct impact systems. But the URS doesn't necessarily need to be a huge, massive standalone document every time.
Right.
For simpler systems, it could be part of a purchase request or a functional spec, or even just, detailed out in the purchase order.
So it's really about capturing that information in whatever format makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. Whatever it is, formal document or something else, the system's going to be verified against these requirements that are laid out. So clarity and completeness, that's what's really important.
Okay. So let's talk about developing the URS. Like, who are the people involved? Who puts this thing together?
Well, the URS, what it does is it defines what the system needs to do to achieve its purpose, not how it should do it. That comes later.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's usually put together by a team, and that team includes subject matter experts, SMEs,
Okay.
from different areas, whoever
Right.
is relevant. And it's important to remember that it's a living document,
Yeah.
So it can be revised and updated as needed.
Right. So what are the must-have elements that have to go into a URS document?
Okay, well, first you need a clear statement of the system's intended purpose. What is this thing supposed to do?
Yeah. What's its job?
What's its job, exactly? All requirements, they need to be written in a way that you can test them, that you can verify them, and they shouldn't get bogged down in, the specifics of the design. That's not what this document is for.
Okay.
And very importantly, for every requirement, you need to note its category, whether it's quality, business, or maybe health, safety, and environment, HSE, and where it came from. What's the source?
Right. So where do these requirements come from? It sounds like it could be a lot of different places.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it can be. Think about it. They can come from our understanding of the product and the process, including the CQAs and CPPs.
Yeah.
We talked about, any critical aspects, CAs, that we've identified.
Okay.
GMP regulations, your company's own quality standards. These are all really important sources. Then there's the system risk assessment. right? And that helps identify critical design elements, the CDEs. And we also need to think about the required accuracy of any measurements the system's going to make, national and local regulations, business needs, safety needs, engineering standards, project documents, you name it.
Wow, that is a lot.
We can even take things from the old systems, lessons learned.
Right, right.
What worked, what didn't. And actually, if you look at figure 2.2 in the ISPE guide, they have a really nice visual representation of all these different inputs.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out. So we've talked about what to include, but what about what not to include? Like, are there things that we should avoid putting in the URS?
Yeah, definitely. So you want to avoid dictating how a requirement should be met, how it should be implemented.
Right.
You don't want to get into those, the nitty-gritty design specs. And you definitely don't want to include procedures, like step-by-step operating procedures.
Right.
And you want to avoid vague statements, things that aren't verifiable. Like, you don't want to just say the system has to meet all regulations.
Right.
You got to specify which regulations, because remember, the URS, it's the foundation for the design, and it's what we're going to use to confirm that the system actually does what it's supposed to do.
So at the end of the day, what we're really talking about here is that the URS is this documented agreement, right? This is what the system needs to do and why it needs to do it.
Yeah.
And this ensures product quality and regulatory compliance.
Exactly. It's the starting point for the entire system lifecycle.
That's a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that really clarifies things. The URS can be a complex topic, but I think we've really broken it down.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a final thought for you, the listener. Think about how clearly defining your own requirements, whether it's for a work project or something in your personal life, think about how that can really improve the outcome. Just like in pharmaceuticals, clear requirements are the foundation for success, really, in so many areas. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.